So welcome to Jean-Claude Trichet. A great pleasure to be with you, former president of the European Central Bank, former governor of the Bank of France, and an old friend. How are you, sir?
Just fine, Alan. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Let me get started and ask you about the Eurozone and the Italian and the German economies and the French economies in this time of COVID. Everybody has suffered. The Eurozone average drop was 6.8% for 2020. And it looks still weak in this first part of 2021. How does it feel to you, the Eurozone economy?
Yeah, it's been a terrible period of time, of course. We had a drop which was totally dramatic at the very beginning of the year. A big jump up, very fortunately in the third quarter. And again, we had a very disappointing fourth quarter. I have to say that we are in a very uncertain world. Of course, we are all hoping that the vaccine will change the game and will be a fantastic game changer. But I remain personally very prudent and cautious. We don't know what the variant will do. We don't know whether the vaccine today will be good for the tomorrow's variant. So I think we should be very cautious.
Let me ask you about the European Recovery Fund, because the European Central Bank in its latest monthly bulletin, I believe today, said that the rapid use by all countries in the Eurozone of the recovery funds is vital if they want to kind of kickstart growth and employment, that it's vital that they move quickly. Some in Italy took that as a message for Italy to use its funds best. What's your opinion? What's the European Central Bank saying here?
I don't think the European Central Bank was targeting Italy in particular, but all countries, because it's true that the political decision was taken quite a long time ago. And as you know, there has been some hurdles here and there, including political hurdles that were weakening the impetus that we had at the very beginning. So I think it's extremely important for all of us, for this new generation fund to function as well as possible. And it's a message for Italy as well as for all other countries. But of course, it is clear that Italy was at the very beginning of this concept. And you remember there was a very strong call coming from Italy and some others, and a very strong response coming from France and Germany, and a remarkable, I have to say, decision taken, which I consider one of the most important decisions taken by the European over the last 30 years. I mean, it's something which is very, very substantial.
Which aspect? The
fact that
neutralization of debt?
Europe as a whole can borrow as Europe for this amount of 750 billion. It is really something which is new, which was considered impossible before the decision was taken. And of course, now you have to do it and utilize it as well as possible.
You have recently been appointed, along with other distinguished former central bankers, finance ministers from Nigeria, Larry Summers, Nobel Prize winners, to a G20 high-level independent panel on the response, the economic response to COVID. This is something the Italian government asked for as president of the G20. Tell me, does that give you any hope, or are you still as pessimistic as you sounded just now, that we could live with COVID and the virus for a while and the economic effect could be uncertain this year and next?
Yes, I think unfortunately, we have to make the working assumption that we might have, for quite a substantial period of time, very difficult threats coming from this pandemic and also next possible pandemics, because this work, which has been asked for by the G20 under Italian presidency, is precisely to see how we will combat all such global commons that could erupt anytime. So the idea is to combine all possible financing to be sure that we are preventing, not only curing, but preventing such events. So I think it was a very good move by the Italian presidency, also taking into account the fact that global governance is now back on its feet with the new US administration. And so it's extremely important that this G20 this year would be a full success, which calls, of course, for an Italian government, which would be as good as possible under the circumstances.
Well, absolutely. Now, what's interesting is you're the predecessor and former president of the European Central Bank, and your friend and colleague and peer Mario Draghi has now been named to form the new government. Does that give you hope for Italy?
Yes, I really think that if it is confirmed that Mario has a majority in the parliament, which I trust, of course, then you cannot imagine a better personality precisely to not only, of course, run Italy with all I would say, the challenges that Italy has, but also the G20 with all the challenges that the global economy and the global, I would say, international arena has in the present period.
And this crisis, which is bringing to power Mario Draghi as the new Italian prime minister, began over the European recovery plan. And many people believe that Draghi would be an excellent manager of 200 billion euros of investments, but also somebody who would do the reforms along the way. Your thoughts?
I think that, of course, what is absolutely essential, not only for Italy, but for all European countries, is not to forget that they are paving the way for the future, not reconstructing the past. The future will be very different from the past. Structural reforms are of the essence. I would say particularly in Italy in a way, because the Italian growth has been very disappointing over a long period of time. Whatever Italy was doing, it was very disappointing on the side of the productivity progress and growth. So it's clear that Mario is the best person to understand that and do what is necessary to pave the way for a better future.
Whatever it takes.